Welcome back to the Word for the Valley podcast, and in today's episode, we're digging into one of Jesus' most unsettling statements. He said, "I did not come to bring peace, but a sword." So what does that mean for us? We'll explore how following Christ reshapes our thinking and sometimes even divides our closest relationships. Let's take a closer look at what true discipleship really costs as we listen to Pastor Mike teach at chapter 10, verse 34.
He says in verse 34, do not think, again, that's a command that I can do. Do not think that I came to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. Now, he's changing the way we're thinking about things. He's changing the way we're approaching things. Don't worry, stop worrying. Don't fear, stop fearing. Now, he says, don't think like this. That Jesus Christ and the work of Christ is going to just bring unilateral peace wherever it comes. Don't think that way. I actually saw, now this is a little while ago now, on Twitter, right? I saw somebody had posted, the kingdom of God will be unilateral peace or something like that. And I was like, and from a Christian ministry that was really trying to promote peace. And they had a Bible verse and everything for it, like peace on earth, goodwill to men, that kind of thing, right? And I'm like, you should probably try to balance. That's one of my problems with like church signs. There's not enough lines on the church sign to get a full measured balanced truth statement. Right? So they pick out like half a verse and they tag that on there, and then people walk away thinking like that's the only truth. Like it's always like this, right? When it gets measured out by a lot of other instructions as well. Just because the gospel comes, just because Jesus is working, does not mean that it's going to be easy. Actually, it may be an indicator that it's not Jesus Christ. That when Jesus steps in, it's going to create some ripples. It's going to create some turmoil. It's going to create some disruption in the force. I don't know where that came from, but it's going to create some problem, in these kinds of things where it actually might be more contentious as a result than it was before. I think one of the greatest hindrances in people being able to move forward in their relationships with the Lord sometimes is merely their desire to live peaceable lives. It's almost like peace at all costs. We don't want to fight. We don't want to argue. We don't want to disagree. We don't want to look like the bad guy. We're a peacemaker, and a peacemaker at all costs, right? And they got their Bible verses for it too, right? Kind of, this is what the Lord's calling. Lord, blessed are the peacemakers. All these kinds of things. But they don't take into consideration the other half of it. Again, some of us have households. Our living room rug is a mountain of all of the things we've kept sweeping under it. Have you ever gone to a church and there's like this huge elephant in the room? You might not even know why. You're just like looking around, there's tension, it's weird, right? The two staff members aren't, there's all this, what's going on? And it just kind of goes on like that for months on end, years on end. It's like obnoxious because they're trying to maintain peace without working through the process to get peace. Sometimes, especially when unbelievers are involved, that it's going to be more contentious as a result of the gospel and the word of God coming in. Now, Matthew quotes from Micah here, "For I've come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's," look, enemies will be those of his own household. We talked about this last week. John Piper has a son all over social media that's disparaging Jesus, disparaging John Piper, disparaging the church, disparaging how he was raised. And I think over and over again, like, nobody would even know who you are if your dad wasn't John Piper. Right? The only reason you have a Twitter following or whatever it is, whatever, Instagram, whatever. The only reason you have a following is because your dad was used of God to do the work that God's called him to do. You're a flaming hypocrite, in my estimation, a coward at the highest regard to use somebody else's platform, sacrifice, and service, and then to try to twist it and use it against them. I got zero respect for somebody that does that. No respect at all. Well, the enemy doesn't mind, right? He'll turn friends into enemies at any point. Look, a man's enemies. Underline the word enemies. A man's enemies in verse 36 are those of his own household. Enemies. Now he says in verse 37, he who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Calvary Fellowship is about 16 years old. Maybe 17 now, I can't remember exactly right. 16, 17, somewhere in there. I get surprised by it still, and probably shouldn't. I don't know why it surprises me as it does. But I would say the number one thing, more than money, more than stuff, more than prestige, more than power, the number one thing that prevents people from moving forward in their callings, in their service of the Lord, and the things that God has for them is almost always family. That's probably up in the 90%. If I do this, what happens to my mom and dad? If I do this, what happens to my kids? If my wife's not really kind of on board, and I'm not sure we should do that, what about this and that and the other? We need to make sure that our families are not idols. I need to treat my own kids with the same objectivity that I treat you in being able to hold forth God's standard and God's word. And if I give in to them, I know it's wrong, but I let them do it. But I try to hold the line with you. You're going to know that I'm false, that I'm deceitful, that I'm hypocritical. You're going to know that. You're going to feel it. Well, he says this up front, but he doesn't actually do it, right? He says this in public, but he doesn't actually do it in private, right? And that's an indicator that maybe my love is out of order. That I actually may, in fact, love my family more than I love God. He who loves father or mother more than me, Jesus says, is not worthy of me. He doesn't play with loves. He either gets first and foremost, or he doesn't mess around. Right? Julie and I had a deal from day one. We talked about it from day one. There is infidelity in this relationship. You have the right to divorce me and kick me to the curb. And if you do that against me, I will probably divorce you immediately and kick you to the curb. This is like a no. We are not going back on this. Right from day one. Right? Because I ain't sharing my wife with nobody. That's my wife. It's my wife. Right? And she ain't sharing me with nobody. At least that's what she told me. So I'm going to believe that, right? Listen, Jesus isn't sharing us. I feel like somehow or another we do God a service when we give him like 10% of our lives. Like we're throwing him a bone or something. Oh, God, look what great sacrifice I've made. Oh, like God's up in heaven like, yay, I got 10% of my gobbler, right? Which in the account of heaven is like, my gobbler isn't a whole lot, but at least in 100% he gets my heart, and he gets my devotion, and he gets my relationship. I give him 10% and treat him as if that's 100%. He's like, come on, I own the cattle on 1,000 hills. I don't need your $100. Like, that's a big deal. I own the cattle on 100. I could raise up, an army out of these stones. I don't need your time and your energy as if it's a great grand sacrifice to me. I don't need it. This is for us. What do we get out of this? What's the benefit on this? Is that he will find us worthy. That we will be worthy of Christ. If you make 100% commitment, what you will get out of the commitment is you will get 100% of Jesus. You'll be worthy of him. He who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. It's a decision. It's a devotion. What do we want? We want Jesus at all costs. Whatever it costs us, do we want Jesus? Listen, there are disciples of Jesus Christ in Afghanistan standing with their 10-year-old children and having their throats slit and guns put to their head. to disclaim Christ. We don't want to make our kids miss ASO soccer. We're in a whole different world. But we talk as if we're devoted. We talk as if we're committed. We talk as if we're 100% in. We haven't done anything yet. We haven't given anything yet. Hasn't cost us anything yet. But where it's going to cost you is probably going to be at home first. It's weird. I don't know why that is. Right? You're thinking like, oh man, I'm going to follow Jesus. I'm going to take on this ministry. I'm going to do this calling. You'd think like the people who love you most would be like, yes, 100% sold out for Jesus. Yes, let's go. How can we help? You think that they just kind of pile in. Yes, this is great. I've been waiting for you to make that decision your whole life. No, it's like, no. Are you going to be around for Thanksgiving? Can we still do Christmas together? Yeah, from Sudan. Yeah, from Afghanistan. Yeah, we'll do Christmas together from the other side of the world. Whatever kind of thing. Well, then I don't want you to go if we can't do Christmas together. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? It's hard to preach these verses in America. We don't have a context for it. He says in verse 28, he who takes not his cross or does not take his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. The cross is the means by which they be executed. Basically, you have to willfully take up the means by which you will die. That's what he's saying. I can't do that, man. It's too much of a price on my body. It's too much of a price on my life. I can't do that. It's a cross. Verse 39, he who finds his life will lose it. He who loses his life for my sake will find it. I wrote in my notes here, what have we lost for him? What have we lost for him? Have you lost some income? You lost some money? You lost some time? You lost some reputation? You lost some what? Physical energy? You lost some time so you can't go play more and do more fun things? What would you lose for him? He says, whatever you've lost, he will make up for it. If you lose your life for my sake, you'll find it. You haven't lost anything at all. It's remarkable. I talk to people who have actually made some significant sacrifices, and they slough it off like it's no big deal. It's interesting to me. Oftentimes, people who have done this, made huge sacrifices, buried a child on the mission field because they didn't have American health care when that kid got the flu, something they would easily have recovered from. But they were on the mission field, and as a result of it, lost forever on this side of eternity, that child. And they come back and they say, and you're like, oh man, that's really bad, really hard. I can't, we made that determination before we even went. And on the backside of it, this is what we get. And God's been gracious to us. He's been good to us. We've seen God work in these ways and these kinds of things. And they talk about it as if it's not a big deal. I don't know if you've ever found, maybe you're looking at me like you don't know what I'm talking about. People who make the grandest sacrifices talk about it like it's not a big sacrifice at all. People who make the littlest sacrifices talk about it like it's the biggest sacrifices in the world. You're like, dude, it's a hangnail. It'll grow back, right? Or cut it off. What do I care, right? You don't need that toe anyway. Move on, you kind of thing. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal, right? We want to be patient and kind and nice to people, so I'll pray for you. In some ways in the body of Christ, we should encourage sacrifice and not diminish it. Somebody comes and says, man, I lost all this following Christ. My family won't even talk to me anymore. We should say, good job. Good job. I wish I was like you. I wish I had that calling. I pray on a regular basis, God, send me somewhere where I can die. Send me to Sudan. I listen to far-reaching ministries. I want to go there so bad. I don't need a return trip. I want to go. And the Lord just do that here. I'm like, how do I do that here? I don't know how I do that here. I want to go there and be with them and just whatever happens, happens. No, you do that here. I don't know how to do that here. He who loses his life for my sake will find it. He who receives you, it says in verse 40, he who receives you receives me. And he who receives me receives him who sent me. Now, look at this, right? If you're willing to lose your life for his sake, you'll find it. And God comes along with another promise and says, he who receives you receives me, receives him who sent me, meaning that in this process, there are going to be people that don't reject you. Here's the good news in this, right? You follow God full on 100%. You're going to make new friends. You're going to actually attract to yourself people who love people who follow Jesus Christ 100%. You concede to your family because your family makes demands on you, or you don't know how to get particular things in order, right? You just don't know how to get the day-to-day life in order. So I'm just gonna do that. My family needs this. So what I'm gonna do, and then you back away from significant things the Lord has called you to do. And what you're going to find is that you're going to begin to attract around yourself other people who are probably a bit lukewarm too. Your peer group, your friends, people who support and encourage you, are not going to be people who say, hey, man, you need to make more sacrifice. You need to give more. They're going to be people like, oh, yeah, I understand you. I get it too. This is, you're going to get a lot of that. If you go 100% in, this is all I want. I don't care about anything else. I want to follow Jesus with everything I have. You make 100% go, the people that you end up getting surrounded by are other people who value 100% goes. And you're going to end up with the peer group and friendship group that you deserve when you're done. You make that choice, right? You make that choice. He who receives you receives me. You will get people who receive you. And he who receives me receives him who sent me. He who receives a prophet in the name of a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. Now they get blessed in their service of the people who make the 100% commitment to the Lord. And he who receives a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. Now this is what motivates those people to serve the apostles and disciples in their ministry, because they're going to be blessed as well, and they know that, and they're willing to do it. And he says in verse 42, whoever gives one of these little ones only a cup of cold water in the name of a disciple, surely I say to you, he shall by no means lose his reward. Just something as simple and as easy as a cup of cold water, but you're doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it because this person is serving God 100%. And you just want to participate with people who are serving God 100%. I've heard it 5 or 10 times, probably. I'm reviewing now in my head. Maybe a few less than 10. In the last 2 or 3 years. Right? Somebody that has come through a situation, difficulty in their life, glaring sin, error, and God has given them grace. If what they were doing 5 years ago had continued to the present day, they probably would be dead. Probably. But the Lord intervenes. God steps in, rescues them. Completely out of, remember Mike Smiko saying, I wasn't even looking for Jesus. I wasn't even looking for Jesus. I found Jesus by accident, kind of thing. Well, obviously Jesus was hunting him, right? He said, I wouldn't have gone to a church. I wouldn't have listened any other way. I had to hit this bottom and get to this place to hear the gospel like this. I wouldn't have heard any other way. And God is so gracious. To now come back after having the Lord do a work and let's just say, like, what else do I want to do? I want to go get a job? I want to go make a lot of money? I want to go try to build up my savings? Like, what else do I want to do? I want to see God do in other people's lives what he did in mine over and over and over again, and I will do whatever it takes to be a part of that. I think sometimes for a lot of us, we don't understand really the price that has been paid to put us where we are. And we've started to get comfortable in the world. The danger of not hitting big rock bottoms is that you start to feel like you can survive the world in your own strength, that you know how to navigate it, that you know what to do. And somehow or another, you just float through it and you all kind of end up on top. Whereas a truly transformed life, a person who really understands God's grace and the sacrifice of Jesus Christ that was required to make that transformation in that person's life, says, listen, I wouldn't even be here anyway if it wasn't for Jesus Christ. I wouldn't even be here anyway. So why am I not going to give 100% of whatever's left to do this? It was Ben Glatz. I think it was after a Sunday night. And I forget how we got there, but we were talking about bucket lists. Oh, it was at the end of Revelation, right, with the kingdom age. And my spiel about why do you need a bucket list now? Why don't you just wait till the millennium to do all that fun stuff, right? You're going to get to visit wherever you need to visit then. Obviously, it will be very different then, so take a picture. Or I don't know, but you're going to enjoy it more later. Why do you feel like you have to take your limited time where you have the opportunity of sharing the gospel and use it all for your own selfish means? Like, you don't have to. You can enjoy all of those things later. They're coming. They're coming. The millennium, the kingdom, the heaven, all that stuff is coming. You're going to get all that stuff if you follow Jesus Christ. This is the time for the gospel. This is the time to die. This is the time to take up the cross. This is the time to lay it down. That's what this season is. And so I was talking about bucket lists. I just chill out on your bucket list and these kinds of things and that, kind of spiel. And it was a Sunday night and Ben Glatz comes up to me like super serious. If you know Ben, this is kind of how it goes, right? You can't quite tell if he's joking or serious. And it's kind of like, it's all the same tone. And you're kind of like, eh. Sometimes he tells a joke and I get it like a day later. Oh, that was really funny. It was just so deep and sarcastic and just awesome. That was really good. He's probably wondering why I didn't laugh when he told it. Because I'm not as smart as you or whatever. But I didn't get it. And so he came up. He said, Mike, you talking about all that bucket list and all this stuff? He said, this is my bucket list. A servant at U-turn, making like zero money, giving their life away in service to the Lord. If you've ever had any inkling on what Ben and Jody's schedules are, and you don't pray for them or fear for them on a regular basis, you have no idea what they do, right? To live with their ministry in their backyard. It's intense, it's hard, it's difficult. I couldn't get most people that I know to sign up for it. They have too much to lose. Life is too comfortable on this side. Why would I go do that? Ben looks at me and he says, Mike, you don't call me Michael, only Julie does. But he says, Mike, this is my bucket list. He said years ago, when I was going through all these other programs, he said my best case scenario was just to try to be clean. If I could just white knuckle long enough to keep a job and pay some bills and be clean. He thought that would be like the rest of my life would be trying not to use, making a little bit of money, and just trying to survive until I died and try not to make a mockery of the work of Jesus Christ in my life. That'd be my hope. And here God is. He's put me into this ministry. He uses me. He lets me teach the Bible. He lets me work with other people's lives. Does God not know who he's working like? Do you not know? Do you not know what I did with my own life? You're letting me counsel somebody else? But it's just the Lord's input in his life. And what God's done, he says, this is my bucket list. You don't need a raise? You don't need more money? You want a retirement income? No. This is my bucket list. I don't want to go anywhere else until God tells me to go somewhere else. That is the mindset of a disciple who's given 100%. Right in the fullness of God's calling. That is exactly where I want to be. And I don't care if it's hard. Actually, I want it to be. I want it to be hard. I want it to cost something. I don't want the journey to be easy. How many of us are going to get to heaven who have no scars, right? And we're going to be listening to other people. We're going to be watching other people, talking to other people that got these weird lines on their neck in their resurrected bodies. If there are any connections from the previous body to the newborn body, which Jesus' body had some connections from his crucified state to his eternal reality, right? The marks of slaughter still bore with him, right? So there may be some things that connect into. So we talk to somebody and they got this strange line on their neck. They say, what happened? Well, we were in Egypt. And there was a changeover. They called it the Arab Spring, but there was a changeover and these other people came in. And I was about 25 and they came into our house and they took us out. What was it, 12 or 16, 18, 19 of them? Along the shores in the Egyptian sea, or the sea there. And they took us out and they demanded that we would recant, turn our backs on Jesus Christ. We refused. They finally got a shot that they could work with to send worldwide, and they cut our throats in triumph to Allah. And we'll look at them and we'll say, we're so sorry. We're so sorry we didn't do more to save you. We're so sorry we didn't help. We're so sorry. We're so sorry. And they will look at us and they will say, sorry for what? In heaven, we will be glad for it. They will look at us and say, where are your scars? What did you lose on the sake of Jesus Christ? What did you give up? What were your pains? What were your struggles? What were your difficulties? What did you have to press through to serve Jesus in your ministry? And I don't want to get there and hang my head and say, I gave up $100 or whatever. Because they'll say, what are dollars? And then the conversation will end. And that will just be very awkward, right? But I want to make sure that I've given as much as I have, the full 100% to the Lord and to his purposes here and now. So I don't have any regrets when I get there. And I believe that there will be a full and warm acceptance, right? Again, you've heard me say this before. I hope that when I die that Jesus comes and gets me, right? I don't want no long, dark tunnel. I don't want to hover over the body and watch the scene for a little while, right? Every ghost movie you've ever seen. And I don't want any of that. I want Jesus. I don't want to meet Peter at the gate because Peter's weird, right? I want Jesus to come and get me from this side to the other side. But it does seem to be that he only gets out of his seat on certain occasions. That right now, Jesus Christ is seated at the right hand of God the Father. But when Stephen was martyred in the book of Acts, Jesus stood up. Jesus stood up. I would hope in my life, and I would hope in all of yours, that when it's time, that Jesus will stand up and say, finally, you've endured enough. That was enough beating. Come on home. And we will gladly shed this mortal frame, this mortal coil. We'll gladly shed it and enter into his kingdom to be with him forever. Until then, may you be faithful with your calling. If you don't know what that is, it should be a main prayer in your life for how God can use you and what he wants to do in your life between here and the end. Right? I don't think we have as long as we think we do. I think we need to prepare as if Jesus Christ could come back tomorrow, because I do believe the fact that he could come back tomorrow.
All right, we learned that following Jesus may cost us everything, but in losing, we gain what matters most. When sacrifice comes, don't shrink back. Rejoice that you've been counted worthy, because the more we give to Christ, the more of him we receive. The question is simple. Do we want Jesus at all costs? All right, that's all for now. Thanks for listening to the Word for the Valley podcast. So long, everyone.